Congress, to all the members, to all our special guests, sponsors, to all the media, international media as well. I had a long thought on what a speech would have to consist of in terms of where we found ourselves as South Africans today in the agricultural sector, and I put a lot of thought into it. And we have a Congress theme regarding the fourth industrial revolution. I will only speak about that briefly because I'm not the expert on that. I think we have excellent speakers here today who will deal with that, but I will just dwell on that briefly. First of all, I'm going to have a few slides just to illustrate how we got to where we are and the great levels of uncertainty that we now have in South African society. I will dwell on that. I will speak specifically about the levels of uncertainty that we are experiencing now, and which is not good for economic growth that we all want. And then I will come out strong later on in terms of the protection of property rights. Then I will shift gear and I will go on to what I think we need to talk about, and that is progress and economic growth. Then I will say a few things about climate change. Then I will say a few things about the fourth industrial revolution, and then I'm going to end off strongly on inclusivity, because the future will be about inclusivity. So that will be the main thrust of my speech. First of all, this is where we are now in South Africa. It is not only post-Polokwane, post the policy conference, it is even before that we have massive political and policy uncertainty in South Africa. And I think that proverb explains exactly what is going on within our politics, and when that happens, the grass suffers. And these are the problems that we have. I'm not going to read them all to you. I think some of these have been a long time in the making, the last 10 years, and we now as South Africans have to deal with them. And the question there on the right-hand side, who's going to take responsibility, and where will we find the solutions for them? And you can read them all there. Policy uncertainty will be right up there. So, just a few slides on the South African economy. The red lights are on. The red lights are on for our economy, and I'm going to make a strong case that we have to make decisions as a country now on which way we're going to go in terms of our future. I've just chosen two slides. This is the official unemployment in South Africa now, and there's a good reason why that graph is in red. We are now nearing 29-30% unemployment, and 6 million people without a job. This is a critical slide for us in South Africa now. If that graph goes on in the wrong direction, we have serious trouble. We have serious trouble already. And the next one is our national debt, and that is the one in blue, and the one in red is the debt of our SOEs. And that graph is also going in the wrong direction. Totally. On the left, you can see all the reasons for that. State capture is mentioned there, and all those, I'm not going to read through all of them, but those are basically state capture, Eskom, bailouts of our SOEs, which is putting an immense amount of pressure on South Africa. So that graph is also very disturbing. In agriculture, we know our problems, and I can add a few more there. I think the top three, I shifted the bullets around a little bit in my preparation. I think policy uncertainty, safety, because just how it makes people feel that you could be the next target of violence, and then climate change and the drought, and the economic effects thereof. Two slides about uncertainty. This was in Rapport, 22 September, just a few weeks back. Professor Johan Rousseau. He's a professor in philosophy at the Free State University, and he wrote this article. Here's die revolusie wat Suid-Afrika kort. Here's the revolution that South Africa needs. Now, it's not the revolution in the negative sense of the word. I'll come back to this later. I've got 2 slides on what Professor Rousseau is saying, and I will end off later in my speech on what he says regarding inclusivity. But he's going on to inclusivity there already. But he says we've never been this uncertain since the 1980s. Now, I don't think, that's a statement and a half. If you think back to the 1980s, that was the downward spiral of the National Party government. We were basically bankrupt as a country. We had the security forces deployed all over South Africa. We were simply out of money, and it was during that time. And he compares where we are today with that time. We can philosophize, have a philosophical discussion about that, but I think this is where we are. People are extremely uncertain, and within the agricultural sector, even more so. This is a discussion, Dr. Patrice, so good to see you here. This is a discussion that I had with Mike Brown, CEO of Nedbank, at the first Motsepe meeting with the traditional leaders and our kings, basically a year back. So this quote, and I ran it past him and just asked him whether I could use it, and he says, yes, you can use it. And this is what he said. We were outside in the hall and we were having a tea break, and I was asking Mike Brown, Mr. Brown, what do you think about the constitutional amendment? Will it go through? Because Nedbank at that stage was the only major bank that came out strong against amending the constitution. And he said the following: I don't know in what exact form this constitutional change will eventually end up, but if it takes 3 years to get there, what I do know is that such a long period of uncertainty will be very negative for confidence, investment, growth, and therefore job creation in the SA economy. And Dr. Patrice, it's now a year back that he said, and we still, and Congress, we're still in that position. We know we're clearer or nearer to a solution to this. And that is why the South African economy suffers, because of these levels of uncertainty. 2 slides on what happens to us as an organization and society when we have these massive levels of uncertainty. 2 themes, and I asked Omri to give me 2 slides on our strategy process, where we are looking at what the strategy should be for provinces, for the commodities, for our corporate members, and I'm going to go on to that just after this. But what happens to us when we are that uncertain? We go into protection mode, and all those, and it's not wrong to protect property rights, but we go into protection mode, but the market forces actually tells us we need to go into progress and growth mode. But that is what happens to us, and let me be very honest and frank with you, that leadership of all these organizations and the provinces find it extremely difficult to deal with the emotions and the fears of people when we have periods of uncertainty like we have. But we cannot stay in protection mode. So here's another slide, just a little bit more detail from our strategic process. This is the one I asked Omri for, and it just says that the primary needs of our provinces are secondary needs for our commodities and our corporates, and vice versa. And that we have to think very clearly about this. We cannot stay in protection mode. We need to get out of our corners, and I'm going to go on to that further on in my speech. And then just there at the bottom, Neil Hubert and his committee, the Monitoring and Evaluation Committee, thank you for your work that you've been doing. You will see what our strategy looked like a few years back and whether we actually delivered on that, and what the future will hold. So this is what we see. We are stuck in protection mode, and we need to get out of it. There's just a slide saying exactly that, and that is why, farmers are, let's say it as it is, farmers are under tremendous pressure, tremendous economic pressure. We've got low growth, We've got droughts. It seems like, I'm not going to go there to say that climate change is permanent. These things all happen in cycles, but farmers are finding it extremely tough out there. And we need to go on to growth and progress mode, and we cannot get ourselves out of trouble in protection mode. We cannot, and that is why we as an organisation will have to deal with issues now like development funding, etc. And I will go onto that now. This is just one slide. I just put it, it's Vinpro, one of our commodities. I'm not going to go through there, it's very small. You can go through it in the presentation afterwards. Absolutely tremendous work that they're doing. This is progress and development and growth mode. And this is where we need to go to. And I want to thank all our commodities. All of you do excellent work. But when I went through this slide and this one page of Vinpro, I was absolutely amazed at what they actually do. Now, I'm going to do protection mode for a few slides, and then I'll change gears. But I have to speak on this. And I'm going to make a strong case now for the protection of property rights and to leave our constitution as it is. I've been honoured to be a part of the President Ramaphosa's panel on land reform, and you all know what happened, that we have a main report, and then myself and Nick Serfontein published a supplementary report or an alternative report. And this is what I've been saying all along, and maybe if nobody heard it up to so far. I got a question at the Congress of Northwest the other day, and they said, Dan, should we dismiss the main report and reject it and then adopt your report as the official report? And I said, no, that is not what we're going to do. The main report will be the main report, and that is how it is. And what we've said, that there are more than 20 principles in the main report that we support. And I don't know whether that has been missed by everyone, but there's been good work. There's good work that was done within the panel. And then you see all the proposals that we made, and that has been reported in the media thoroughly, and I'm not going to go through that again. It's just that the bottom two there, we did feel it necessary to give more of an economic spin on the supplementary report, and a food security spin on it, and then the bottom one, and that is actually the one that I want to talk about. I'm going to argue for the protection of property rights and for our constitution to stay as it is. Now, it's a great pity that Advocate Mbeka could not finish the process with us, but let us remind ourselves of what he says about our constitution. And I've never, ever since the panel reports came out, I've supported the main report, and I've just like I do on that previous slide. But today I'm going to have my say. And why I could not go with the main report was the following: that the way that the legal opinions of top constitutional lawyers was being dealt with was opportunistic, and it is as if the panel was hell-bent to come to a political conclusion of some sorts that we need to amend the constitution. And that is not something that I could support. And let me explain this to you. So there you have Advocate Mbeka saying it's not crucial to amend the constitution. And he says that the problem lies elsewhere. He's not the first person to say that. During January, because we lost Advocate Mbeka on the panel, we sourced the legal opinion from Professor Almen du Plessis, and she also said to the panel, the current constitutional framework is not an impediment to effective land reform. And then she elaborates on that. And then afterwards, when the panel report came out, the problem that the main report has is to explain legally how they got to the point where they say an amendment to the Constitution is necessary, because they simply cannot do it. Expropriation of property without compensation is, as a default position, will be against international law. And then she elaborates there, Section 39(1) binds courts to international law, and Section 233 binds the state to international treaties signed. And the main panel report were very casual about this. And it even seems at certain areas that they try to circumvent the Constitution, and especially in terms of Section 25(8) of the Constitution. It's very easy to misinterpret Section 25(8) of the Constitution, and they did that to their detriment. That's too small for me to read. I have new glasses on, but this is not working. If there's no legal, technical reason to amend the Constitution, surely there can be political reasons to amend the Constitution, but then we should not do it like Great Britain is doing with Brexit. They decided, let's Brexit. And now 2-3 years afterwards, they still don't know how to Brexit. And this is what we've done. We said, should the Constitution be amended? And we don't say how. It's now 18 months to 2 years. We don't have any wording. And the South African economy is suffering as a consequence of that. And there are some other reasons, and there are some high-level opinions from the University of Stellenbosch and Professor Dani Brandt saying basically the same. So that is why Congress, apart from many other aspects, why I did not go with the main report, because there's no legal, technical reason to amend the Constitution. And there I will stand and fall. So now we're going to shift gears. This is enough of the protect mode. Now we're going to go on to progress and growth mode. So we are at a crossroads. We say that often in South Africa. We are at a crossroads. We've got to make a few decisions now. And this quote from Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum, Dr. Patrice, I guess you know him well. He says, "There's never been a time of greater promise or greater peril." I've told you about it. You know all about our economic situation. You know about the uncertainty. But now we're going to make decisions. It can be a period of great promise, which I think it will be, or it can be a period of great peril, which I don't think it will be. First gear. Let's put it into first gear. President Ramaphosa has made economic growth the goal of his presidency. I have no doubt about that. And we are part of the PPGI process, where we, with 19 other sectors in the economy, are providing, with Agri and a lot of other role players, are providing him with information on how we can grow the South African economy at 5% and more. Congress, 2 and 3% growth is not enough. It is simply not enough. We will have to grow the South African economy at 5% or more, and this is the process that we are a part of. And Jannie de Villiers gave me some feedback. Thank you for that, Jannie. You are actually now in the process where you're working out plans that we need to implement. So this process is very far down the line. It has the President's blessing. He spoke about it in his SONA, and we've got 19 sectors all working together and see how we can get this economy growing. It basically goes like this. We can get the economy growing, we can create jobs, we can get new farmers into production, we can expand production, we can increase exports, but we need this, and that. And this is what this process is all about. The President needs our support, and he will get the support from Agri SA in this regard. First gear, it's your most important gear. Let's move on to second gear. The Minister of Finance, I had this slide in the beginning, who's going to take responsibility. First of all, the President of the country is taking responsibility, and the Minister of Finance is also taking responsibility. And those few bullets that I have there, those are just the points from his new document on economic growth, and that is only the ones that are relevant for agriculture. And we need to support the the Minister of Finance. He's going in the right direction. He's showing leadership and he's taking responsibility. And we've made extensive comments on that document, and we will support the Minister of Finance and Treasury in this regard. Third gear, and I was wishing that the Minister was here, and she's still not here. The Minister is on her way, but her representatives are here, so you can tell her that I spoke well about her. I was in Parliament when the Minister did her budget vote, and she did exceptionally well. And she said all the right things. She focused on the right areas, in my opinion. She spoke about partnerships, and I'm now leading up to partnerships, agricultural finance, and I thought she did extremely well. But she did even better when we came to question time. And then she said, what this is all about for her is we need to fix and reimagine. So she was very honest about what is going on in her department, the job that she has, merging the two departments, etc. And she said we need to fix and then we need to reimagine. And that is leadership for me. And then she did something which I thought went unnoticed in the media, but I thought that was extremely important. On a question from one of the opposition parties, I think it was Annette Steyn from the DA, on violence, the Minister just said, boom, just like that. Yes, of course, that is the case. Yes, of course, our farmers and our farm workers need to be safe on our farms. And I will do my very best, and I will work with other departments. And she just simply said it. And I thought that was leadership of the highest quality. So we know we have a good minister, we know we have a strong minister, it was a good day for me to sit there and to just listen to her. A little bit on the fix. This is a very harsh judgment from the Constitutional Court regarding the capacity within the department, and this is where the fix part will come in. Now I will only read, this is the Mwelazi judgment, and I will just read that area in green. Well, let's read the whole one, because this is the Constitutional Court speaking. South Africans have been waiting for more than 25 years for equitable land reform. The department's failure to practically manage and expedite land reform measures in accordance with constitutional and statutory promises has profoundly exacerbated the intensity and bitterness of our national debate about land reform. It is not the Constitution, nor the courts, nor the laws of the country that are at fault in this. It is the institutional incapacity of the department to do what the statute and the Constitution require of it that lies at the heart of this colossal crisis. And then we have an interesting development in our law, which is not good, where the Constitutional Court appointed a special master. So now what we have is that the judiciary has to police the executive. And it should not be that way. And that's the message that I wanted to say to the Minister, is that let's work together, let's form partnerships. She spoke about partnerships. Let's have partnerships where we help. And Agri SA has taken that responsibility a long time ago to help. We don't need special masters to help us to do what we know we need to do. And then there are some other cases that I have there at the bottom with far-reaching implications. Fourth gear. Dr. Patrice, I wanted to say fifth gear or sixth gear, but I'm still stuck here. I have to go through the gears now. Fourth gear. And this is, we've been honored, and we are extremely honored to have Dr. Patrice Motsepe with us today. Thank you for making the effort to join us and to come and listen to us. Thank you for the opportunities that you created for us to have partnerships, meaningful partnerships for the first time for most of us, with our kings and queens and traditional leaders and black farmers. And you provided us with that opportunity. It's been a great journey. And the sole thing that we, and Dr. Patrice speaks about that a lot, is that we want partnerships between commercial farmers, our kings and queens and traditional leaders, between white and black farmers, so that we can normalize society and that we can have economic growth and that we can take this country forward. And it has been an enormous honor to work with him. We are still, it's work in progress. But from our side, Dr. Patrice, thank you so much. This is what's going to save this country. This is growth and development. This is growth and development mode, and this is what we need as a country. Those are just showing the diversity that we have in our agricultural sector. Those are just some of the projects. We've narrowed them down now. I think we are down to 6 or 7 bankable, profitable, sustainable, viable projects. And they must be commercial, and they must be commercially successful. So that's the work that we've been doing, and that is 4th gear, 5th gear, and 6th gear, in my opinion. This is why I say this. I got this quote from, he's a Swedish economist in the 80s or so, but he said this, and this is the message, and I wanted to give this to the Minister, Dr. Patrice, to everybody on development funding, finance for agriculture. It is in the agricultural sector that the battle for long-term economic development will be won or lost. It's a time of great peril, but it's also a time of great opportunity. Now, I believe it's a time of great opportunity, but we have to make this work. And we've got an enormous amount of energy in the ADA process, in this process with Dr. Patrice. Everybody is working on agricultural finance for new farmers. We got to get this right. If we get it right, we will set this country on a path of long-term economic development. I've no doubt about that. And I just want to say something, Dr. Patrice, you always have this saying, I'm now learning to say the things you say. We will succeed. We will succeed. And there you have a quote from Bill Gates, because this is why we will succeed. This is the best weapon that we have against poverty and hunger. It is the best weapon, so we have to succeed. A few slides on climate change. Who of you know who this young lady is? Okay, so you're all very informed people. If you don't know who she is, you've been watching too much World Cup rugby. This has all happened in the last few weeks. This is Greta Thunberg from Sweden, and I have nothing against her. She's a sweet girl, but the debate on climate change has changed. It has changed, and it has changed in a very significant way. And you can just read what she and what people around her will be saying. You need to get angry and transform that anger into action. And she's not afraid. She's taking on the most powerful people in the world, and this is her speech at the UN that's actually got in the headlines. And they will be angry, and they say they will look at scientific evidence. But remember, there are also so-called scientific evidence that say, let me give an example, that cattle and sheep and ruminants have a far greater effect on global warming, etc., etc. So people like her, who are angry and having climate change protests all over the world, I'm afraid of people who have simple answers for complex problems. And there at the bottom she says, we are at the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? Now, there's no telling how this is going to play out. I simply don't know how this is going to play out, but I know this is going to be big. And it might have an effect on governments, it might have an effect on their budgets, it might have an effect on agriculture, it might have an effect on consumers, on how they deem agriculture. This is going to have an effect. So what do we do in agriculture? Chris Burgess, I think from Landbou Webblad, you've been a leader in this. Herlewingslandbou, bewaringslandbou. This is what we know we need to do, conservation agriculture, and we have the responsibility. Again, we come to the word responsibility, to farm in a sustainable manner and an ecologically sustainable manner. A few slides on the fourth industrial revolution. I'm not the expert on that. All I know that what I read about technology and biotechnology and nanotechnology and all kinds of technology It's that it's going to change our lives in every aspect, and even in aspects that we cannot think of right now. So this is going to be big, and this is why I think it's a good topic for this Congress to get out of protection mode and get into growth and progress mode. And let's think about, while we're dealing with all these issues, what will the world look like in a few years from now? How will agriculture look? And we will have to adapt, and we will have to adapt quickly. There's one slide that I didn't put in my presentation. It was somebody who said in the year 2000, if you look at the year 2000, and it was some other index on in America, economic index, that half of the top 500 companies, because of digitalization, is no longer there. They just disappeared, and that's the impact that this will have. I had the opportunity to listen to Dr. John Purchase a few days ago on a VKB day, and he just spoke about what happened to the Chinese economy when they invested in this. Everybody has a little computer in their hand. We've got to give them access to the internet and to connectivity and broadband connectivity, and I know our president is also opposing this, but this is going to be a game changer. And this is just one slide that I thought was quite good. I wanted to make the Minister of Agriculture the Minister of the Future as well, but we'll make that later. This is just an interesting thing. The world is going to change, and this quote just caught my eye. We need a Minister of the Future. Things are going to change in a big way. Right, I've got my last 4 slides, and then I'm done. And this is basically the most important thing that I want to say today, apart from the other things. And it's a few notes on inclusivity. Now, the other day, Dominee Willem asked me to, at Agri Gauteng's Congress, and he said to me, I will speak about a few things that work for me, good habits in organized agriculture, things that work for me. And the first thing that I said is something that does not work for me, is when we try to label organized agriculture as something that is determined by your language, your skin color, or anything else. That does not work for me. I want to be in an organization that is inclusive of everybody. And that is why I enjoy the process that we have with Dr. Patrice Motsepe. And this is all about opening up conversations. The difficult conversations, all kinds of conversations. And that is what leaders have got to do. You cannot be in protect mode all the time. You've got to have these discussions. You've got to have these conversations. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Now, revolution is I don't like the word revolution, but I think you all understand what this is. And we've got so many opportunities, and we have got the responsibility. Land reform is one. The future of farmers, the future of new farmers, the future of partnerships. How are we going to deal with this land question going forward? How are we going to deal with agricultural finance? We've got to have those discussions. If you don't have those, then you have trouble. That's my first one on inclusivity. My second one, I'm coming back to Professor Johan Rousseau. You can read it there. It was in 2016, Francois, when we had Mr. Moletsi and Becky and Johan Rousseau speaking at our Congress in the Free State. And this is once again, what is the revolution that we need in terms of inclusivity? We need a revolution of inclusivity. That is what we need. We need people to come together. We need to reach the hearts and minds of ordinary South Africans and people that have been left behind and people that have been excluded from the economy. We have to reach their hearts and minds and ensure them that we will have a future. And this is what this is all about. And there's ample opportunity. We're having another meeting with Mr. Moletsi and Becky and Professor Rousseau that's been set up for next week. And there at the bottom he just says, why has this country not gone up in flames already? It is because ordinary people are actually getting on better with each other than what we're thinking. but we need to work very, very hard at this, and there's lots of opportunities. I'm just going to say, who of you are on this Facebook group, I'm Staying? Okay, just a few. On Facebook. Sorry, what did I say? Did I say Facebook? Okay, so this is a new, it's not a WhatsApp group. You can't have a WhatsApp group on Facebook. It's a Facebook group. So this is a new one, and in a few weeks, or it has now gathered 600, I checked that last night, 600,000 members. Now, it just shows that South Africans from all walks of life has this, they want to get on with one another, and they're sharing it on this Facebook page. Now, the only reason why I'm not on that page is I was not planning on leaving in the first place. I was not planning on leaving in the first place. Now, there's nothing wrong, it's wonderful, you can go on there. South Africans of all walks of life sharing their stories. Is a little bit vanilla, these are all the nice stories, and maybe we need a lot of that. But my last slide. If you want to stay in South Africa, and I'm going to stay in South Africa, this is it. This is the real I'm staying. South Africa has the world's highest Gini coefficient income inequality. This is it. Now, when we were young kids, do you remember when you asked your father when you were a young boy, or said, "Dad, what's your salary? How much do you earn? How much money do you have in the bank?" Do you remember that? Who of you did that? Your father would never give you an honest answer. I'm very wary, because sometimes my bank balance goes into overdrafts. You can't tell the boys to go and tell you, "I've got minus that," and then they go to school and create a great war there. And then my father never gave us an answer, but what my father did say to us, he said to us, "Children, listen to me carefully now. You are some of the most privileged people in this country." Now, as a young boy, I always thought, geez, my dad has a big salary. But he didn't. But what he was trying to teach me is to say, he always said, you are in the top 5% of people in this country. And I could never work it out. But that is the truth. All of you sitting here are in the top 5%, or even, maybe even more, of the South African society. We are privileged. Now, you can have all sorts of discussions on why you are privileged, and it is hard work that got you there, and etc. But my father instilled a thought in me. There are other reasons why I am privileged as well. And it's both historic, it's been our history. There are many reasons for this. But he always instilled in me, you have a responsibility to take care of other people because you are privileged. And that for some reason has stayed with me for all my life. So this is my last slide on inclusivity. This is I'm staying in South Africa, and this is where I said to the President Ramaphosa, I'm going to repeat what I said to him. And some people were angry at me for saying this, or they were worried that I said this. And I said, Mr. President, we understand that the colonial era and the 1913 Land Act and apartheid policies had a devastating effect on black people's lives. And secondly, we take co-responsibility with you to try and fix it. And that is all that I'm asking from you and from Agri, from everybody. I started off with our economic situation. Who's going to take responsibility? This is you can argue this any way you want to. You can argue this, what's your responsibility, what's not your responsibility? How much responsibility do we have to take, how much don't we? Of course we can't take all the responsibility. But we will have to take responsibility. And that is why I'm staying, this is why I'm in organized agriculture, and if I'm privileged to be in organized agriculture, this is what I will spend my energy on inclusivity, on responsibility, and to show leadership, and to say, listen, we're going to give everything that we have. We're going to give it the best that we have in terms of our knowledge, our expertise, our energy, our plans. We will work with everybody. We will work with government. We will play our part. And do you agree with me? as a Congress. Thank you, Congress.